Hello everyone, my name is Kitetsu and welcome back to my channel. So, there's been a new update on the MALIGN Portents website in the form of a new short story, which is pretty exciting, and I realised that a brand new video came out involving Scryer Elias, and I haven't actually talked about Scryer Elias since the video involving the Dark Oath War Queen, so I'm going to really quickly recap the storyline we've just had on the MALIGN Portents website. Then I'm going to quickly recap those two videos that have come out since, and then I'm going to talk about the brand new video which has just come out called The Visitor, and it is the epilogue of the Scryer Elias videos. So we're not actually going to get any more of them, and with that there has come a brand new theory. Now, the more I think about the theory, the less likely I think it is. But nevertheless, it was interesting enough for me to decide to talk about, because if nothing else, it makes me realise how much I miss the elves, and how much I want them to explore the storyline of Malekith, Morathi, Tyrion and Teclis, who are all returning characters from the world that was. Right, first of all, let's talk about the new story, which is called A Bountiful Wager. So this story actually follows directly on from the first story we ever had for MALIGN Portents, which basically involved Horticulus Slimux chasing after some villages. He doesn't manage to kill them, but the undead rise out of the plains and do the job for him. He can't step on the ground in front of him, so instead he thinks, I'm going to retreat back to the Gardens of Nurgle and basically take stock of some tricks I can use to take on the undead. When he gets to the Gardens of Nurgle, which is where this storyline picks up, he sends out all of his plague flies, and basically he wants to use them as little spies to work out what is happening in the realms and to see if he can actually work out what Nagash and the undead are up to. We have no idea how long it takes for his flies to return, because unfortunately for Horticulus Slimux, he has no concept of time. But sometime after doing some gardening, his flies return and they update him on what has been going on. We don't actually hear their reports, which is a shame, because I'm sure they would have given us even more insight into what is happening in the realms. But what he hears is enough to make him think, I need to go into the realm of death and tackle this head on. But before he does that, he decides to go and find Rotigus. I'm sure by now you all know that Rotigus is the brand new Greater Demon of Nurgle, and he is busy fighting off an invasion of Tzeentch demons who have decided to attack the Garden of Nurgle. Rotigus is more than a match for them, and he quickly dispatches them. Afterwards he has a conversation with Horticulus, and they decide that together they're going to go and do a massive campaign in the realm of death. At first he's reluctant, because he says, well, a victory shared is a reward halved, but they make a wager, which is the first person to find the problem and sort it is the winner, and therefore will take all of the victory. It's pretty cool. Like, it was well written, of course, as you'd come to expect. It didn't tell us anything groundbreaking that we didn't know. However, it does confirm to us exactly what role Nurgle is going to play in MALIGN Portents, which is basically a combined invasion by Horticulus Slimux and Rotigus the Rainfather. So I'm pretty excited for that, and it's really cool that they've kind of come up with a narrative for all of these brand new Nurgle releases that are coming out. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are going to want to buy and collect the Nurgle models that have literally just come out, so it's nice to know that all of those people can be included in a really cool narrative within MALIGN Portents. So quickly moving on to episode 3 of MALIGN Portents involving Scryer Elias. Basically this one didn't tell us very much, which is probably why I didn't make a video on it. He decides he's going to go and see what the primitive people in the Destruction Alliance are up to, and he finds a fungoid cave shaman who is busy eating hallucinogenic mushrooms in his cave. The fungoid cave shaman has a vision and decides that the Destruction faction need to head into the realm of death to combat Nagash. And that's really all it tells us. The 4th episode was actually far more interesting, and in this one, Scryer Elias actually goes into the realm of death himself, obviously as a kind of astral projection. There he sees an incredibly long line of undead all holding Realmstone, which is the blue stuff they're holding in the picture to the top left. Above them is a Knight of Shrouds, and we finally heard what a Knight of Shrouds was in this video. He is someone who betrayed his own kind, and from the Malign Portents website we now know that that's either because he left a castle door open at an opportune moment, or maybe he told the guards to have the night off at the exact night when Nagash's forces were going to take over and kill them all. Basically, Sigmar wanted this guy for himself. He wanted to basically recruit him as a Stormcast, but this guy decided to choose Nagash instead, and basically betrayed his own people and led to them all being murdered. All for the sake of basically power within the Death faction. Anyway, Scryer Elias, he's too overcome by the mysteries of where all these skeletons are going, so he decides he's going to follow them and see where that leads. When he gets there, he sees something he wishes he hadn't, and he can't get the image out of his mind. He sees an enormous monument which is being built to Nagash, and there are thousands and thousands of undead delivering Realmstone to it. If you actually look at the picture at the bottom right there, there are loads and loads of little blue dots in trails heading towards this big floating monument, and all of those dots are undead carrying Realmstone. So what is this monument? I think it is actually the key thing behind Malign Portents. I think it's Nagash's whole plan to take over the realms. He's built this monument out of Realmstone, which the video suggests will actually help him expand the realm of death itself into the other realms. So I think what we're looking at here is literally the key gist of the campaign, and that if Nagash isn't stopped, he will literally just spread Shaiish across the realms and basically take power. The final video dropped literally yesterday, and that one was called The Visitor. And as I said, it is the last time we are going to see Scryer Elias, as far as I am aware. In this video, Scryer Elias is basically staring into the flames of his campfire, and he is contemplating all the things he has learnt so far. As he's staring into the flames, he realises that a war is coming. A massive war between the legions of the undead, and in this case he is watching, I assume, a vision of them fighting the Stormcast. Here's where the good stuff happens. He's staring into the flames, watching this battle, when all of a sudden he gets discovered by another scryer who has scrying powers even greater than his own. It's a woman talking to him, and he is literally terrified, as you probably would be. He's always scryed, and he's always been safe, but now something is aware that he is watching, and perhaps it was when he went into the realm of death that he drew the attention of this other scryer. And obviously whatever plans are being cooked up in the realm of death, they want that to be kept secret, and they want it to be a surprise. They don't want all of the other realms knowing what they're up to, because then they might be able to stop it. The voice is basically toying with him and goading him. It tells him to run and pray that her followers don't catch him alive. As the video ends, he reaches a valley, and the camera pans upwards to focus in on a crescent moon. And that crescent moon seems to be quite important to the video, because the camera lingers on it for quite a while. The mystery behind the video is who is the woman or the visitor who interrupts his scrying. Personally, I think it is Neferata. I think it's the obvious choice, and it's the first thought that came into my head when I was watching the video. First of all, she's the Mortarch of Blood, which makes her one of Nagash's 3 most powerful lieutenants. She's a very powerful sorcerer, and she is exceptionally dangerous and important. I don't see how she isn't going to play a massive role in Malign Portents, because the whole story is basically about Nagash trying to take over the realms, and surely his first line of contact to enforce that is going to be his 3 Mortarchs. Even the way she speaks in the video makes me think of exactly how a character like Neferata would talk. She's very self-assured and almost kind of pompous, and she's basically just playing with Elias. But there is also one more theory flying around, and it has to do with 2 things. In fact, 3 things. The first, that it is a female talking. The second, that we have this crescent moon. And the third, that she says to pray that her followers don't catch him alive. For those of you who collected Warhammer Fantasy, you may know that the crescent moon is quite strongly associated with the elves, and in particular, the Dark Elves. They had it on their banners, their shields. It was even featured very prominently in Total War Warhammer 2. Not only is the crescent moon associated with the Dark Elves though, it has also been associated in the past with the High Elves too. For example, Teclis had a crescent moon on his staff and on his helmet, and if you actually look at the spell he's performing in this picture, there are crescent moons swirling around in the background too. Another thing you may not know about the Dark Elves of old is that they would take prisoners and turn them into slaves. It was one of the big things that they would do. So the lady in the video saying to Elias that you'd better not be caught alive suggests that there is a fate worse than death awaiting for him. And some people have thought, well, perhaps that means they're talking about enslavement from a new faction of Dark Elves. We've only had one elf model. By the way, I know it's not pronounced elf anymore, but I'm going to stick with elf because it's a much more sensible word. We've only had one elf model actually be released in Age of Sigmar, and that is Mistweaver Sai, I assume that's pronounced. Notice how she has a crescent moon on both her helmet and on her staff. So clearly the crescent moon is an important symbol of the elves. Now, this particular elf comes from the realm of shadows. Why is that important? Because if it was an elf, a powerful elf leader talking to Elias, then the chances are it would be none other than Morathi. And Morathi is from the realm of shadows, which is very interesting. Morathi was the mother of Malekith from the old world, who both of them were actually some of my favourite characters in Warhammer Fantasy. In Age of Sigmar, Malekith doesn't seem to have returned as he was before. Instead, we have this character called MALIGN. If you actually compare the picture on the left, which is Malekith, to the one on the right, which is MALIGN, they do have a lot in common, however. Noticeably the horns on their head, and if you look at that kind of crest, they both have those little spikes coming out of them. I believe, and many other people do as well, that MALIGN is in fact the kind of manifestation of Malekith from the old world, who is somehow different to how he was before. And as of right now, we have no idea why this change has come about, but the reason I believe that they are the same person is that in the Mighty Battles Age of Sigmar book, it says that when MALIGN wakes up in Ulgu, the land of shadow, he comes across his mother, and his mother is Morathi, and clearly they remember each other from the world that was. So that makes me think that MALIGN is in fact Malekith, as I don't believe Morathi had another notable son. So there we have the link between the new elf model, or should I say the latest elf model, because it's not actually particularly new anymore, but the latest elf model having come from the land of shadow and being covered in the iconography of a crescent moon, with this person talking in the video having a crescent moon in the background as she's talking, and suggesting that it would be better off if he is dead rather than being caught alive by her followers. Let me know down below who you think the woman in the video is talking. Even though this evidence is very compelling and it fits and it's quite exciting, I personally think it is still Neferata. And the one thing I think it does point out though is that elves are in dire need of being updated. We have hardly seen the realms of light and shadow at all in Age of Sigmar, and yet elves have always been such a prominent part of fantasy's lore. I personally think that after we have had MALIGN Portents, I think the elves are going to be the next storyline. But that is complete theorizing. I have no idea if that is true or not. But anyway, let me know what your guys' opinions are down below, and I will see you guys soon with another update.